Yo, what's up everybody, KingGBL here. Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be having a look at Shadow Charizard in Season 23 of Go Battle League. The fast move Ember got buffed this season, which is a legacy move on Charizard. With this newly buffed fast move, Charizard has got a really nice balance of fast move pressure and also able to get to the charge attacks. Straight 5 for Dragon Claw, and it's 8-7 for Blast Burn. So that actually gives you much more of a foot up in a lot of matchups. Whenever Charizard got nerfed with Wing Attack, it noticeably was not able to use any of its fast moves and get to moves quickly enough. However, with this season's move update, there's two massive things for Charizard. If you look at all of the Pokemon that have been buffed this season, Charizard's got some really good matchups into them, and if you're able to get an energy lead or able to get a shield advantage with this Pokemon, you can do some crazy stuff. If you think of all the fast moves that have been buffed this season, you resist pretty much all of them except for the poison ones, right? You resist all the bug moves, Bug Bite, Fury Cutter, Metal Sound. If your opponent's using these moves, you're automatically at an advantage. And if you think about some of the Pokemon which are going to be more used and have been buffed, Scizor, Fortress, Golisopod, Metang, and Pokemon like that, you've got super effective damage into most of them, and even against things like Golisopod, for Alligator, with shields up, you're able to beat these Pokemon. Landing a Dragon Claw against these Pokemon puts you in a situation where you can shield and farm all the way down, unless it's non-shatter for Alligator. So I think Charizard is probably one of the most underrated updates this season. In the comments down below, let me know what you think is the most underrated update. Big shout out to Jamie Finn, he showcased one yesterday, which I think is kind of underrated. Shadow Victory Bell with Acid, Acid now being a Shadow Claw clone. Also Toxicroak with Acid. There's definitely going to be some very cool picks this season because of that fast move. Personally, I didn't think Acid would be a Shadow Claw clone. I thought it was kind of a page filler update, where they just kind of throw it in there, update it a little bit, kind of like Feint Attack a few seasons ago. But Acid, actually a very legit move, and as you can see, we're using it on Credilli. Now you'll see later in the video, I decided to move away from Acid. I think for Credilli, just for the pacing, and to use this Pokemon to the highest potential, I think you want to still continue to use Bullet Seed. It's got better pacing, it's got stab damage, and Acid felt a bit underwhelming on Credilli. However, I do think it's very good on some of the other Pokemon. Anyway, without any further ado, let's hop into the battles. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like on the video, it helps out a lot. I think we're 10 or 15 subs away from 7k on the channel. If you're tuning into the video, you've been enjoying the content, we're 11 subs away. Drop a sub, it's very much appreciated. Big thank you for the support on the streams and the videos on the channel, it's very much appreciated. Last but not least, if you're interested in getting some coaching this season, I offer a paid coaching service which you can find in the description down below. Thanks very much, and let's hop on into the battles here. By the way guys, if I'm speaking a little bit in a down tone here, I'm actually a little bit sick here. I've had a flu the last couple of days. For those of you who've got kids in the house, I'm sure you know what it's like, man. They bring just everything back into the house. It's definitely one of those cases for me here. Myself, the wife, the kids have been sick all this week, so if I sound a little bit different, that's why. But anyway, in this battle, I thought I was in a rough spot. The opponent comes in to a Dialga. It took me about half an hour to figure out what this Pokemon was. It's a Shadow Dialga in the Great League. We go for the Earthquake, and that's going to be good games for the, I believe, second game here. In these first couple of battles, you've probably seen already, Charizard's doing well into the brand new meta. Araquanid is no exception. This Pokemon, of course, has double resisted Bug Bites. They usually go for Bubble Beam. I think I end up respecting a Water Pulse, just to be honest with you, because I didn't know the count. I think they only built up to the Bubble Beam. However, we probably do need to shield one anyway. But as you guys can see, Charizard has a very, very good matchup here. It's kind of funny that with just Bug Bites, they're getting me down to roughly the same health as I'm getting them with Ember. I'm going to build up a ton of energy here, build up to 1 Blast Burn and 1 Dragon Claw. I wasn't 100% sure if a Dragon Claw would be enough here, so I decided to full send the Blast Burn. We bank the move, and the opponent comes into a Fortress and now a Scizor. This team is triple weak to Shadow Charizard. These Embers are going to absolutely cut Scizor down, and same with the Fortress. Ember double super effective into the Bug Steel types. The opponent decides to let the move go, knowing I probably get off a move of Charizard. They farm me all the way down. I think I decide to come into Fortress here to absorb the damage. I want to try to keep my Charizard in play. The opponent has a Fortress as well. I'm going to get an energy lead here. We're up a shield, and with the Ember damage, we'll be able to finish this off pretty nicely. The opponent's actually in Volt Switch, quite surprisingly. So what I'm going to do here is get this move off. I think we look to get the opponent's final shield here. I know that I can survive any one move, but I decide we're ahead in energy, we might as well just shield this. What we're going to look to do is try to get the opponent into a range for 1 or 2 Embers, right? So the opponent's getting off their move here. I'm going to grab the opponent's final shield. We're bug biting it down into hopefully a range where 2 Embers will KO. Also, we've got energy banked. I come into Charizard. I don't decide to go for my move because I just want to see how much damage it does. And as you can see, man, those Embers destroy it. Now in this next battle, we have an Arctibax, a very cool pick for this season. We had Pace to the Dragon Claw, so I'm going to grab a shield advantage. Embers are neutral into this because of course it's an Ice Dragon type. We come into the Credilli at this point. The opponent's going to fire off an Icy Wind, and we're going to look to see what the opponent wants to do here. I'm expecting a catch here. The opponent actually does go for the catch. Very nice catch by the opponent. I guess I didn't expect it well enough. I sort of knew it was going to happen, but I think at these early ranks, you don't really respect it as much. Here's another matchup where you think, you know, having Acid really just doesn't help out that much. You would definitely much prefer to have Bullet Seed. Acid for this Pokemon doesn't help out that much, to be honest with you, because against Azu you've got super effective damage anyway, you've got faster pacing. What are you really targeting with Acid? Not that much with Credilli. I think you would prefer to have the Grass and Rock moveset. Anyway, here comes the Clodsire. This is another matchup where Charizard wins the one shield. So Clodsire with all of these move updates will probably be looking a lot stronger. I think we're going to see more Clods this season to counter the Fortresses, Scizors, the Araquanids even. You might even see a Ryzen Stone Edge use, which is pretty cool. The opponent comes into a Pelipper at the end, we come into the Fortress. They'll go for the neutral Hurricane here. They do outpace me. Fortress is very, very bulky. We can comfortably take this move, and we're going to look to get off the Rock Tomb. That's going to be good games well played. Pelipper, I don't expect to be coming into the meta anytime soon, but if you do happen to see this or Mantine, definitely some of the hardest answers to Charizard in the meta. But you've seen what Charizard was able to do here, right? You were able to basically farm the Clodsire down into a range, CMP them, and basically put in a ton of work. In this next battle we have Lairon with Metal Sound. Once again we resist all steel moves and bug moves, so this is fantastic for me. I'm not too sure of the counts and the timing and stuff on this here. So this is a 2-turn move. Body Slam comes at 5 and then 4. So yeah, they get off the Body Slam here. As you can see though, with these Embers, these neutral Embers, we're farming it into a range for a Dragon Claw. We're going to get this off, look to probably bank this energy, but the opponent comes into a Marowak. So I decide, okay, we'll get this move off here. Probably could have considered baiting, and we decide to swap out. Once again here guys, we've got Acid Credilli, and I just think this is not worth it for me. I think it's after this game that I decide to switch it. We go for Rock Tomb, the Scizor will look to shield it, they can get off a move here. If it's an X-Scissor, it'll knock me out. Trailblaze will definitely be quite bad for me. They do go for Trailblaze, they farm me all the way down. We're definitely in a tricky spot. I wanted to see how much damage that would do, so we come into the Charizard, do 2 Embers, takes away roughly half of the opponent's health. They go for Night Slash on the first one. We're hoping the opponent does not reach a second one. We do get this out, and we hopefully can knock this out with an Earthquake. It's going to be a pretty close match. Marowak is relatively bulky. It's bulkier than you would think. We're going to go for this Earthquake. We need this to KO. However, unfortunately, it doesn't quite KO the opponent. So I think if we just have Bullet Seed that match, we're in a much better position. All we need to do is let the Charizard go down, come in with the Credilli, put this on here, and I think Fortress with Rock Tomb can deal with the Scizor, of course resisting the moves pretty badly in the next game. And we come into our safe swap, which is Fortress, not really an answer to Dedenne. Dedenne definitely core breaks his team, so I don't necessarily recommend using this team. The opponent comes into a Talonflame, the Kentucky Fried Chicken, it's just looking curtains for me. However, the opponent lets the move go. They do not respect the Rock Tomb. The opponent comes in with the Dedenne, they're still forced to throw the move. They're going to go for Parabolic Charge, which will of course look to buff their defense. Now actually, luckily for me, I do still have Acid on this Pokemon, so we're able to do super effective damage. But as you can see, it's a pretty underwhelming move here for Credilli, even with super effective damage against this pretty glassy Pokemon, which by the way, I'm not counting the moves very well here. I do go for a CMP tie, which I lose. The opponent's going straight Parabolic Charge, looking to boost themselves up. I decide to get off this Rock Tomb, get the shield, come into Charizard, try to get an energy lead, but the opponent swaps immediately out into Gastrodon. Blast Burn is a much better move than Dragon Claw, it's stab, so we will be looking to go for 1 Blast Burn and farm down here hopefully. Now in this matchup, all I really need to do is get this move off, land it, and farm it all the way down with Credilli. However, this is a Charizard showcase, I want to see what this Pokemon is capable of. We're going to shield the Body Slam and see what we can do versus Dedenne. Dedenne comes back in and these Embers are going to be absolutely chunking it. Look at this, we're farming it all the way down, and that's good games well played. So even against these bad matchups, you're still able to put out a lot of damage with Ember, as long as it's not an Azu or something that completely resists it. Anyway guys, hopping into the next battle, let me know what you guys think of Charizard so far. I think it's going to win a regional, I think it's super underrated. In this next battle here, the opponent stays in with Scizor, goodbye half of Scizor's health, and in comes Credilli. Again, maybe this is the match where I'm like, okay, I'm sick of Acid bro, it's just not helping out that much. I should have come into the Fortress here. That is a misclick on my part. Fortress absolutely obliterates this with the Bug Bites. We do come into this though, maybe we can try to make this work. We get the Rock Tomb off, the opponent shields it, and the opponent was going straight for Night Slash, and I think they even end up getting a boost here, which is pretty annoying. Yep, of course, Greninjas, I swear, always boost against me. I'm going to shield the potential Hydro Cannon. I think the opponent actually goes for another Night Slash. They're just baiting like crazy, horny for the boost. However, we're in a pretty decent position here. We make an aggro pivot. The opponent comes into a Talonflame with Fire Spin. A very interesting choice by the opponent. We've got very, very good pacing against Talonflame. As you can see, Dragon Claw does quite a decent amount of damage. We do beat this in the 2 shield for sure. They go for Flame Charge. I'm going to look to go for 1 on Dragon Claw. And if the opponent decides to shield this, we should be able to outpace. We're free off the Claw, and we'll look to fire it off straight away. Even if it is going to be an alignment, we're not going to take any extra damage. We'll just make sure to get rid of this, because I don't know about you guys, but I do not know counts for this Pokemon. We go for the catch here. the opponent will look to get off a move, and this is absolute curtains for them. Good games well played here. Caesar just absolutely stands no chance against Charizard. I don't think they even make a move, so definitely a very, very dominant matchup. Primeape, quite a neutral lead actually, because of course we're doing neutral damage, and the opponent comes into a Stunfisk. Finally, we're in Bullet Seed, and this is going to be a very good matchup for Credilli. I did see a decent amount of Stunfisk. I think this Pokemon is definitely very bad, to be completely honest with you. What we're going to look to do here is most likely build up to back-to-back moves. The Mud Bombs are adding up on the Credilli though, so in fairness to Stunfisk, it is doing a decent amount of work here. If the opponent starts shielding, I'm pretty happy with this, because we can get off 2 moves. They have to shield both moves, and then we can look to get a huge energy lead with Charizard and hopefully sweep with it. Shield the first move. We're going to look to get this off before they reach another one, and I think at this point we might even consider pivoting out. Yeah, we come into Charizard, the opponent comes back into Primeape. I make a misplay here, I should have went straight for the Blast Burn. However, this probably works out fine for me. I've got 2 shields. Shields are not the issue here. The issue is definitely getting enough energy to take out all of the Pokemon. They go for close combat, in comes Stunfisk. Once again, I should have committed to the Blast Burn. But again, this could work out nicely for me, because look, it doesn't quite KO. They get off a move, I can shield no problem, and I can look to commit to a farm down here. They go for Discharge, we're going to farm it all the way down with Charizard, and whatever the opponent's got in the back does not want to see a Blast Burn. Good games well played, Charizard picking up the sweep, and that's exactly what I'm expecting from this Pokemon this season. I am so convinced that this Pokemon is very underrated, and that people are not giving it the respect it deserves. I think in Play Pokemon, you're going to see this Pokemon winning a regional, just because of its sweeping power. If you set this Pokemon up correctly, as long as you can avoid the Azus that most likely will be there, Charizard's going to be able to put in so much work, and I'm really excited to see it. The opponent lets the Dragon Claw go. They stay in with the what do you call it? Sorry, Dragalge. This Pokemon's very, very cool. It's got access to Acid now. It's basically a Shadow Claw clone, Stab Shadow Claw, which is very cool for it. In comes Feraligatr. I was tempted to go for Earthquake because I think they let this move go, but we just go for Rock Tomb because I'm horny for the debuff. However, the opponent does shield, and that's definitely very good for me. We do have Bullet Seed on the Credilli at this point. I can let this go, come into Credilli, and see what we can do here. So kind of the idea behind this team, if you're wondering, is that we have a soft answer to Azu in the Fortress, and a more hard answer in Credilli. The opponent just comes in and sacks their Galvantula. We Bullet Seed farm it all the way down, which is pretty damn unfortunate for a Spider. You would think a Bug type could withstand that, but apparently not. This is a very glassy Pokemon. Another Pokemon I'm quite excited to try out. Talonflame lead, pretty decent lead for me. If we match shields on the opponent, we can definitely look to take this matchup. These Embers are chunking, by the way. These are resisted Embers, look how much these are chunking. The opponent basically knows that they have to shield it or get farmed all the way down. This is perfect, I'm going to match this up. They go for Brave Bird, the absolute psycho, and then they come into the Clodsire here. I'm going to YOLO the Blast Burn. Now, of course, the opponent will most likely look to shield this, however. Oh, they actually let it go, that does heavy, heavy damage. We don't really have a direct answer to Clodsire on the team, except for maybe Charizard, and Credilli can do okay into it, so definitely landing that damage is huge for me. I'm more than happy to take an Earthquake. In this matchup, as a Clodsire, you should go for double Earthquake. They go for the Earthquake this time. I'm going to build up to back-to-back moves here, and we should be pretty fine here. We can get off a move when whatever comes in. If they come back into Talonflame, we'll look to 1 and 4 the move here, and if they shield, Charizard time. Boom, the opponent lets it go knowing that I've got a Charizard. They come into Quagsire. We're going to look to basically... I'm so tempted to shield this move. I decided to let it go. I can't really shield it, but they go for Mud Bomb. We do survive it. We look to get off a Dragon Claw, and that should be GG's well played. Fortress with Bug Bite has got a much better matchup into Mud Boys this season. Believe it or not, you actually beat Gastrodon in the one shield scenario. I would believe that this is probably a decent matchup as well, at least very neutral, especially if you debuff them into Oblivion and they shield it. Definitely very, very good for you. Anyway, the opponent gets the move off on DRE, doesn't quite help them, and that's good games well played. By the way guys, the state of the game has still been very, very terrible. Let me know if you guys are getting a lot of one-turn lag, DRE and stuff like that, because even in these early battles, it's been super frustrating for me. Now here comes another buff Pokemon in Gligar. Once again, we double resist the Fury Cutters. Because this is non-shadow, I'm happy to let the move go. If it's a shadow, I'd be sort of looking to respect it because it does get very, very close. I'm going to build up, go for the Blast Burn. Arguably, I should not be full sending here. This is where Charizard can be really good, just going for the baits and then landing the move. However, I'm trying to land Blast Burn, so we do full send it here. The opponent brings in a Primeape, and we're definitely happy that this comes out, especially because the opponent lets the move go. Now, they go for what could be a close combat here. They need to full send if they want to knock me out. They should have just full send here. I let the first move go. We're going to let this go completely. This will have to be the close combat. Yep, they probably go for that just to lower their defense, give me less energy with Charizard. And once again, guys, we're in a situation where we're up shields and up energy. We do make the Blast Burn with Charizard. The Lapras comes in. They cannot afford to let this go. They do shield it, and here comes 2 Shield Fortress now. 2 Shield Fortress with the debuffs, the Earthquakes, the Bug Bites, which are Dragon Breath clones, is in a very, very good spot here. I wasn't sure which move would do more, a Dig or a Sparkling, so I decided I'll just let the Sparkling go. probably does roughly the same amount of damage. We've got 2 shields. All we need to do is really make 2 moves here. I decide to call a move. The opponent aerial asses me here, and yeah, that's basically curtains for the opponent. Once again, we do resist the Fury Cutters. That's kind of what's good about Fortresses as well. It resists the steel moves, and it resists all of the bug moves, right? So that's kind of what makes this Pokemon very decent this season. Alongside having a Dragon Breath clone as a fast move, we farmed down the Lapras after the Rock Tomb. That's good games well played. Charizard versus Dedenne. Okay, pretty terrible lead for me. Bit of a core breaker. I stand to get off 5 of these and look to catch in Cordilli. As you can see, even though this is a rough lead, we've done about 30% of the Dedenne, right? So if we were to do that one more time, we'd be in a very good position. Dedenne is down to almost half, and in comes Flygon. We're going to let Flygons be bygones here, and if Grass Knot comes in, doesn't quite, of course, knock out the Flygon. They're non-Shadow. If that was Shadow, that would be probably putting them into farm down range. The opponent has to false in the Scorching Sands. Unfortunately for them, they do go for the bait, and we're going to look to get off this move. Rock Tomb won't oh, actually it does KO. I didn't think it would. And in comes Big Boy Melmetal. This is not great. Thankfully, the opponent does not commit to the farm down. I think had they committed to the farm down and then swapped out, I was in just in a horrible position here. I decided to bring in Charizard here. We're going to look to false in the Blast Burn. I'm not messing around whatsoever. Bang! The opponent shields it. This is the very cool thing about Charizard. It just guarantees shields or knockouts, man. Such a good Pokemon in that respect. I do shield the resisted double Iron Bash, and the opponent comes in and goes for a snipe with Dedenne. I think they're 4 or 5 off the move. I'm going to look to swap out here, preserve some of my Charizard, and look to basically commit to a Bug Bite down. I've got energy with Charizard. We can definitely get this Bug Bite down. I don't think we die to a Parabolic Charge here, so we're still in a very, very good position. We look to get off 1 move with the Fortress, 1 move with the Charizard, and I think we should be fine here. We get this move off. I think that might have been DRE, or I might have just got it off in 1 HP. The opponent lets it go knowing that I reach a move with Charizard, and that's good games well played. I tried a bunch of different buff Pokemon yesterday, and I have to say by far, Charizard was the most fun one. In comes Talonflame lead. They're an Incinerate this time, and we're going to look to go for 7 in Dragon Claw. You know, technically they could play at the 0 shield and win this, right? They decide to shield though, and once the opponent gives you that first shield, you've basically got license to double shield for it, right? Fly comes in, we're going to look to go for 2 in Dragon Claw. This Dragon Claw won't quite KO, so the opponent technically could as well just let this move go. It might only be the 2 shield scenario where Charizard wins it, or maybe we just about win the ones. I'll have to check it out, but there's definitely scenarios where you can beat the Talonflame here, because you should outpace to the final move. Dragon Claw comes in, the opponent of course has no shields left, they have to let it go, and we make a safe swap here. In comes the Ferrothorn and Azu in the pack. Day 1 on the season using Talonflame, Azu, Ferrothorn's crazy stuff here, but the opponent's not messing around at all. They're just trying to get some elo pretty early here. Flash Cannon comes in, does heavy damage to the Cordilli, and we're going to continue to Rock Tomb it. We're basically trying to get this to a point where we can farm it down with Ember, and hopefully land a move on Azu. If the opponent is getting a little bit greedy here, they're over farming quite a lot, we get off another Rock Tomb, and if the opponent's going to commit to a farm down, I'm going to commit to Charizard, snipe it with 2 Embers. They cannot get off the fast move, or the charge move, and we actually do reach a Blast Burn. Now, as you can see, this is a horrible matchup, but Blast Burn is no joke. Still does about... With the Ember damage, like, the Azu's almost at half health. It's at about 55-60% health, right? We do a Bullet Seed here, force the opponent to for energy, and at this range, our Fortress, resisting all the charge moves, should be able to deal with it. Good games well played. I think Azu might actually prefer to have Hydro Pump this season, because there are a lot of Pokemon like this where you're basically getting walled off, like Matang, this Pokemon right here. Hydro Pump actually might be the play for this Pokemon. We do get ourselves a nice little 5-0, and we're of course climbing up the early ranks. Nobody really cares, man. Guys, if you're thinking like, oh, look at my win rate, nobody cares, man. Don't even bother posting it. Yo, what's happening here? Yo, we just farmed the Metagross all the way down. Wait, the opponent brings in a Marowak? Wait. Okay. Alright, GG's. Hopping into the next battle, we have a Bastiodoni here. About the worst thing Charizard can possibly see. However, they're staying in here, and because I don't outpace them to the Earthquake, I decide to CMP them on the Rock Tomb, and just hope they don't know the counts. Please don't know the counts, they don't. Thank goodness, man. So yeah, they go for the Flamethrower here. That'll of course be double super effective, we have to shield it, and then they come into an Oranguru. Very interesting choice by the opponent here, and we definitely just take this move. We're very, very happy to take this, and I think, oh, they go for Trailblaze? Bro, they should be going for the Brutal Swing. We should be able to farm it all the way down now, and if they come into Bastiodon, they actually come into Victory Bell with Magical Leaf. I definitely think you take a leaf out of Jamie Finn's book, go for Acid on Victory Bell. It looked very, very strong with Acid. Boom, Rock Tomb comes in, the opponent's forced to take it. We come into the Dillymeister here, and I think I decided to set this up for a Charizard sweep in the end. We're going to look to try to Ember this down later on in the match. Yep, so we get off a Grass Knot. I think this Bastiodon's got very poor IVs, because these Bullet Seeds are noticeable. These power-ups are really adding up, and yeah, I think this is a noticeably bad Basti. The opponent's probably just built like a Lucky one, or some sort of cheap Basti. Makes a huge difference for this Pokemon. I decide here to go for CMP on the Rock Tomb. We're not looking to take out the Basti just yet. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this Bastiodon. Once again, in the early ranks, using Basti and Vic. It's pretty crazy stuff. They go for Flamethrower, they pivot into Victory Bell, they do not reach a move, and we're going to Ember Farm down the Basti. Guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video, man. If you did, like I said, drop a like in the video. It helps me to continue what I'm doing here. It helps get the videos out to new people, so if you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. I think we're going to be showcasing one more battle here, just to kind of showcase Charizard core breaking the absolute shit out of teams. But yeah, thanks everybody. Like I said, I really enjoyed this Pokemon. I think it's super underrated. Ember is an elite fast move, so you will have to invest in that. As for the other Pokemon on the team, I thought that Fortress was quite decent. It's a little bit awkward into certain things, so to be honest, I think it's going to be like meta for a little while, but I'm not sure how long it'll stay in the meta. I think it's going to have its moments where it'll be really good, and its moments where it's going to kind of fall off. People are going to start countering it quite a lot. I expect Fire to be quite prevalent this season, which of course will bring out a lot more waters, maybe more rock types, so it will be quite interesting to see how the season develops, right? Because of course Fortress, if you look at something like a Carbink could probably do quite decently into it with Rock Throw. It's got the Fairy typing to resist the bug moves. Of course you have to worry about the Earthquake. Maybe they start running Flash Cannon, who knows, but I think definitely Earthquake and Rock Tomb are the way to go for that Pokemon. We shield the Charizard up just to get the damage through in the Fortress, and yeah, this is looking to be curtains for them. The top left, good games well played, and that's going to do it for today's video. Once again guys, thank you very much for watching, really appreciate the support. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I should be streaming later on, so feel free to check that out. Big thanks guys, take it easy, and I'll catch you all next time.